Revolution in motion. The evolving landscape of modern activism. The world of activism is undergoing a seismic shift, driven by technological innovation, generational awareness, and the urgent demand for systemic change. From digital campaigns to grassroots mobilizations, today's activists are redefining what it means to create meaningful impact in an increasingly interconnected society. This transformation is not merely a reaction to crises, it is a proactive response to decades of inequality, climate degradation, and political polarization. As new voices emerge and old paradigms evolve, understanding these trends becomes essential for anyone seeking to drive real-world progress. Digital activism. Powering change through technology. The rise of digital activism has revolutionized how movements organize, communicate, and sustain momentum. Social media platforms now serve as both megaphones and battlegrounds, amplifying messages instantly to millions of people worldwide. Hashtags like #BlackLivesMatter and #ClimateStrike have become cultural touchstones, uniting diverse individuals around shared goals. Beyond viral campaigns, tools like encrypted messaging apps and crowdfunding platforms enable activists to coordinate safely and fundraise efficiently. These innovations democratize access to resources, allowing even small-scale initiatives to gain traction globally. However, they also introduce challenges related to misinformation and digital surveillance. Viral mobilization. Social media enables rapid dissemination of information, turning localized events into global movements overnight. Decentralized coordination. Digital tools allow activists to collaborate remotely, bypassing geographical barriers and institutional gatekeepers. Risks of over-reliance. While powerful, digital activism alone cannot replace face-to-face engagement, which fosters deeper community bonds and tangible outcomes. Intersectionality. Bridging multiple fronts of struggle. Modern activism is increasingly defined by its commitment to intersectionality, a framework that recognizes overlapping systems of oppression. Movements now address issues like racism, sexism, ableism, and class exploitation simultaneously, acknowledging that no single cause exists in isolation. This approach has led to unprecedented alliances between historically separate groups. For instance, climate advocates now partner with indigenous leaders to protect ancestral lands, recognizing that ecological preservation and human rights are inseparable. Such collaborations foster holistic solutions that address root causes rather than surface symptoms. The role of marginalized voices. Marginalized communities are at the forefront of shaping contemporary activism, challenging dominant narratives and demanding center stage in policy discussions. Their lived experiences provide critical insight into the realities of systemic inequities, ensuring that reforms are equitable and inclusive. Data shows that when movements prioritize intersectionality, their success rates increase significantly. A 2023 study found that campaigns incorporating multiple axes of identity had a 68% higher chance of achieving legislative victories compared to single-issue campaigns. Youth-led revolutions. Generations rising up. No trend in modern activism is as potent as the surge of youth-driven movements reshaping societal norms. Younger generations, raised amid climate disasters, police brutality scandals, and economic instability, are refusing to accept complacency as the status quo. School strikes for climate action, pioneered by figures like Greta Thunberg, have inspired over 15 million students globally to walk out of classrooms annually. Similarly, college campuses have become hotbeds for anti-racism protests, with students leveraging their numbers to push universities toward divestment from fossil fuels and discriminatory practices. Educated advocacy. Youth activists often combine academic research with street-level organizing, making their arguments data-driven and hard to dismiss. Cultural influence. By harnessing meme culture, TikTok dances, and influencer partnerships, young organizers make activism accessible and relatable to peers. Sustainability focus. Many youth-led initiatives emphasize long-term solutions, prioritizing systemic reform over quick fixes. Grassroots resilience. Reclaiming local power. In contrast to high-profile national campaigns, grassroots activism continues to thrive as a cornerstone of effective change. Community-based efforts empower ordinary citizens to take direct control of their environments, fostering self-reliance and collective empowerment. From urban food cooperatives combating food deserts to neighborhood watch programs addressing gentrification, local initiatives demonstrate the power of bottom-up strategies. These projects often succeed because they are deeply rooted in the specific needs and contexts of the people they aim to help. Case study: mutual aid networks during pandemics. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed glaring gaps in government support systems, prompting a resurgence of mutual aid networks. In cities like New York and Detroit, volunteers organized grocery deliveries for isolated seniors, distributed free masks, and provided childcare for healthcare workers, all without relying on bureaucratic approval. These informal yet highly effective systems proved that sustainable change does not always require institutional backing. They also highlighted the resilience of communities when given the tools and autonomy to act independently. Corporate accountability. Taking on the system from within. A growing wave of activism targets corporations responsible for environmental destruction, labor abuses, and exploitative business models. Consumers are wielding their purchasing power as a form of protest, while employees leverage internal channels to hold companies accountable. Boycotts, shareholder resolutions, and employee walkouts have become standard tactics against firms engaged in unethical behavior. Major brands now face pressure to adopt ethical sourcing practices, reduce carbon footprints, and disclose diversity metrics publicly. Consumer boycotts. Campaigns like Don't Buy It challenge fast fashion giants by urging customers to reject cheap, environmentally harmful products. Internal resistance. Tech workers at companies like Google and Amazon have staged mass resignations to oppose AI ethics violations and anti-worker policies. Transparency demands. Shareholder activists push for mandatory ESG, environmental, social, governance, reporting, holding executives answerable to public standards. Artistic expression. Activism. As culture artists are playing a pivotal role in modern activism, transforming creative expression into a tool for resistance. Murals, music festivals, and performance art serve as both protest and healing mechanisms, bringing attention to injustices while inspiring hope. Feminist artists, for example, have used body paint to reclaim narratives around sexual violence, while musicians compose anthems that echo through protest marches. Art's ability to transcend language makes it especially effective in multicultural societies facing complex challenges. The rise of protest music. Protest songs remain a powerful medium for rallying support and articulating grievances. Artists like her, Kendrick Lamar, and Billie Eilish have woven social commentary into chart-topping hits, sparking conversations about race, mental health, and climate anxiety. Streaming services have further amplified this phenomenon, enabling underground artists to reach global audiences without needing mainstream industry validation. This democratization of sound empowers voices previously excluded from the entertainment landscape. Legal innovation. Using courts to challenge injustice while streets and screens dominate much of activism, legal avenues offer another front for challenging oppressive laws and policies. Strategic litigation, constitutional amendments, and judicial reviews are being employed creatively to dismantle systemic barriers. Landmark cases involving voting rights, reproductive freedoms, and criminal justice reform illustrate how courts can either uphold or subvert existing power structures. Lawyers working alongside activists often play dual roles as both strategists and defenders of civil liberties. LGBTQ+ rights litigation. Landmark Supreme Court decisions, such as Obergefell v. Hodges, were won through meticulous legal argumentation and coalition building. Civil disobedience trials. Peaceful protesters arrested for demonstrating often turn their trials into teachable moments about injustice and freedom of speech. International law applications. Human rights lawyers cite treaties and conventions to pressure governments into compliance with global standards. Conclusion. Activism today is a multifaceted force shaped by technology, intersectional frameworks, youth energy, and relentless creativity. Whether through digital campaigns, grassroots organizing, or artistic rebellion, there are countless ways to contribute meaningfully to the fight for justice. The path forward requires vigilance, empathy, and strategic thinking. Choose one cause that resonates with you, whether it's climate action, racial equity, or economic fairness, and commit to making your voice heard in whatever way feels authentic and impactful.